Hi, I'm here with Jorge and Elena today to open up a bank account. Here are some words you'll need to know.
Individual account, joint account, checking, savings, statement, balance, deposit, withdrawal, teller, deposit slip, paycheck, ATM, card, cash, interest, traveler's checks,
So, what can I do for you today?
Would like to open a bank account.
Individual accounts or a joint account?
A joint one is better.
Yes, and you can get both checking and savings.
Do we have to pay a service fee?
If you have a minimum balance of $1,500, there are no fees.
I hope we can do that.
Oh, don't worry, we both work.
Okay, how much would you like to deposit now?
$1,000 now and more next week.
Good. You'll get a statement with your balance every month.
And when do we get our checks and ATM cards?
You'll get temporary checks now and permanent checks and your ATM cards in about a week.
So we deposit our paychecks at the teller's window, right?
Or ATM?
Yes, and some companies offer direct deposit. So your paycheck can be deposited into your account automatically.
So no waiting in line.
That's right. Any other questions?
Can we have a credit card application too?
Sure, you can fill it out at home and bring it in later.
And how do we send money home to our families in Mexico?
You can do that by money order or wire transfer.
We are also thinking about buying a car. Do you think we can get a loan?
It depends on how much you want to borrow and how much you earn. Would you like to fill out an application?
Well, let's come back and talk about it in a few months.
Good idea.
Thank you for banking with us.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That wasn't too difficult, was it? Let's go over some phrases you'll need at the bank. When someone at a bank or store sees you, they might say, "How may I help you?" Or, "What can I do for you today?" You can reply like this: "I'd like some traveler's checks." Or, "We'd like to apply for a loan." To show ownership, you say, "You have a new credit card." Or, "She has a checking account here." To show that something is necessary, you say, "You have to mail your payment on time." Or, "She has to open a savings account." Now let's listen to people talk about different bank services.
Where is your bank account?
We actually have two bank accounts. Well, our main bank account is in Bank Boston, and then we have a household account, which is in a smaller neighborhood bank.
My bank account is with Bank Boston.
My bank account is at Fleet Bank.
The bank that I do business with is U.S. Trust.
Do you prefer big banks or small banks?
I prefer a big bank because they have experience and a range of services.
I prefer small banks, preferably because I think it's more intimate, it's more personal.
I prefer to work with a large bank because they have more services and their ATMs are more available and more convenient for me.
I definitely prefer small banks because I don't have to wait in line as often. They know me when I get there, and I don't have to worry about whether or not they recognize me or my account or if I've forgotten something.
Well, I prefer big banks because there's more of them around town.
I like big banks because they are all over the place.
Having my account in a big bank or a small bank doesn't really matter. That's not something that I think about.
What services do you use at the bank?
I have a personal checking account and a savings account, a safe deposit box, and because I own my own business, I have a small business account.
I have both a checking and a savings account with the bank, but I also use the ATMs.
When I go to the bank, the service that I usually use is the checking and savings account and the ATM.
How often do you use the ATM?
I have an ATM card, which I actually use a lot.
It's usually about 3 to 4 times a week.
I use the ATM, I would say, on an average twice a week, maybe to get money to go to a movie or for lunch.
I don't like to use it too often.
I use my ATM card about twice a week, and I love it. I don't know how I ever lived without it.
Which do you use more often, checks or credit cards?
I use credit cards more than checks. I prefer the convenience of a credit card and keeping all of my expenses on one statement.
I would say I use checks more often. I try not to use credit cards, primarily because it can become a bad habit.
I usually use a combination of checks and credit cards depending on where I'm doing business. When I go shopping, I usually use checks. I use credit cards when I ran out of money.
I use credit cards more often than checks. My credit card allows me to earn frequent flyer miles on an airline.
I use checks more often. I don't like to use credit cards. They cost money.
Unfortunately, I believe I use my credit card more than I use the checks, mostly because people don't